Hey everybody, welcome to another drive-through rundown. Today we're going to look at the new edition of Acquire. It just came out this year from Hasbro Games. Now I have already reviewed Acquire several years ago. It was one of the first games that I actually reviewed. If you go back, I'll have a link to that. You can look at exactly how to play and how the rules are. The rules aren't too much change from this. There's some differences in gameplay, which I'll get into. Now, I got rid of that copy because that was not a very good edition of Acquire. I think that came out in 2008 or something. I have since graduated to this one. This was actually printed in 1976, but this edition is basically unchanged from an edition that came out in the 60s. I don't know if it looks just like the original, but I do have this one now. And there was a special Hasbro edition that came out in 1999 that you have to pay an arm and a leg for nowadays, around $300, $200-$300, which is kind of a super deluxe edition. Now this one does take some steps toward that, but it's also brand new and very affordable. So let's crack this open. We're going to walk through the components a little bit here and we'll get a good sense of it. So I cracked open the box here, and you can see here's the main board. This actually comes underneath this insert here, but you can certainly lay it back on top and then close the box up once you kind of unpack everything. Now one of the cool things is this insert, which gives you spots to put all of the stock. So here we have the different stock certificates for these different, these aren't hotels in this case, the rules kind of describe them as different companies. So you've got Nestor, and here is, let's see, this is called Fleet. So it's kind of like a movie studio type of thing. So you can put all the stocks here, and then it's got the rules here. The rule book here is pretty cool because it gives you some good examples and things. The rules for the edition that I have over here on the left, that's literally 2 pages of rules, and that's all you need. But this is nice because it gives you some different examples and things, and tells you actually how to put together some of these markers. So let's look at those. Now in here, you also have spots where you can just put all of the tiles. So if you know the game, you take the tiles out and then you put them on the board where they're indicated. So you can just leave these all face down in the box. You don't have to really mess around with that. That's pretty nice as well. And then also, before I forget to show these are little Stockholder info cards. And these are nice, sturdy, cardstock or cardboard. And they give you the payouts and everything. So based on kind of the cheaper companies and the more expensive companies, it shows you the different payouts. And you will notice here, instead of just a primary and a secondary payout during mergers and so on, there's actually a tertiary bonus. So there's actually kind of a third place bonus there. So that's a definite rule change from the original game. There's also another sort of change which I'll show in a minute. But these are nice because they also give you little steps on your turn, and steps are super simple. You place a building tile, each player will have a hand of these, so to speak, kind of hidden, similar to Scrabble tiles. And then you place one out, and then you might be able to buy stock in any active corporations there. And then it has the steps for the merger there. It's real simple, but so these are nice as well. And these are nice quality here. The font is interesting on these. I'll talk more about that in a minute, but you can see that's 4E. And so the letters and numbers, because they're kind of italicized, sometimes get a little bit confusing. Let's see if I can find an A here. The A is probably the worst one, but the font isn't too bad, but this is sometimes you have to kind of do a double take on it. Now the money is, I guess you could call it a disappointment. It's the thin, kind of really super thin paper money that you get. You can always use poker chips, but it's too bad this wasn't also like cardstock or something, but that is what it is, not a big deal. Now these hotels, or these markers, are really cool actually. And funnily enough, you have to kind of assemble them. So they all come in one kind of contiguous piece here. So we can look at this yellow one. This is for the Fleet. But you can see these little orange plastic things on here, and these were actually on sprues, which were really easy to clip, and I just cut them out, and then they slide into these slots there. You can see that. There's no gluing required. You just kind of slide them in. And I'm not really sure. It kind of makes them look sort of futuristic, which is cool. But I'm just going to go ahead and show you all of these. So here's kind of like a radio station or something. Maybe an internet company. So they have kind of a cool futuristic look. You don't really necessarily have to use these either. If it was kind of a pain for you, you could just kind of ignore those. But here's that. So these are very reminiscent of the, kind of that collector's special edition from 1999. And especially these plastic tiles as well. So everything is kind of very nice quality up until this point, except for maybe the money, So But you know, you can get extra money from other places or use money from a different game. I just want to show all these. So these are really cool. This one doesn't have any plastic on it. And then the last one here, this blue one here, this purpley. So that's that, and you've got the insert. Oh, and I forgot to mention here, you can actually sort of put these in here and just kind of slot these in. So during the game, you can just play out of the box. So you've got the stock here, you've got all the tiles, and then you can just set the money off to the side, and then you've got the player board there. Whoops, I always screw those up. And the purple one, and then the yellow one here. So this is really good. It's looking really great so far. Now we're going to come to the one problem, the major problem that I have with it, because the money's fine. I can deal with that. After you use this paper money a bunch, it doesn't really stick as together like this tends to do, so I don't really have a problem with it. But now the board is interesting, and I have to take a look at it here because I can never tell if it's upside down. All right, there we go. So this is the right side up. Now this is a cool, good quality, nice, thick plastic board. It is a different shape than all of the other boards that I've seen anyway. This is a 10 by 10 versus a 9 by 12. So there's not quite as many spaces. And the requirement, one of the end game conditions is if you ever grow a company to be 41 or more than 41 tiles, that will trigger the end of the game. And in this one, I believe it says 38. So the end game is a little bit different, so it might play slightly faster than, you know, traditional acquire, which I don't know if that's really a problem or not. Now my problem with the board is okay, so which space is which? So I draw here, okay? Now I know you guys are looking on the camera, but you can't really tell where that is. Now you can know A, B, C, D, E, and all the way down here to H. So you can pick it up, and you will pick it up as you play, but let's zoom in a little bit just to kind of show you the example here. So you see that says 6F, 5F, 4F, and I've got a studio kind of lighting shining on this right now. If you're in any kind of somewhat dimly lit room, this is going to be a little bit tricky. So that's my kind of one gripe. Now, if you take a look at the edition I have, I mean, you can read these 100% for sure. And this is a good, chunky, thick piece of plastic. I'll show you an example of the tiles that you got with that old edition. So this is very readable, even if this is a little bit sort of offset. So you can very simply find, you know, 4E and put it there. So that's my major gripe. Now the money's one thing. Everything else, the tiles, you know, the insert and the stock, there's card stock, and these buildings are really cool. Everything else is fantastic. It's just kind of a shame that it's sort of, you know, it can be very hard to read this, especially as you start playing and you're kind of looking and everything. So you will get used to it. I don't want to say it's kind of a deal breaker, but again, if you're playing in kind of dimly lit areas, then, you know, not every game room is going to be super well lit. You know, you might be playing in a dining room where the lights are turned down just a little bit, where you don't really need to have, like, you know, really pure lighting. But you can, and I might mess around with this, you could kind of go and maybe like dry brush these, or sort of come at these with kind of a white mark or something. Maybe I haven't played with that, but that might be an opportunity here to make these all white or something, because it's like gray on gray is the problem, and also the font a little bit, sort of this weird italic type of thing. So what do I recommend? Well, this is really going to be the only edition you can find. I highly recommend the game. The game is fantastic. We still break it out now and then, and it's really sort of a light stock game, but it looks kind of intimidating because you have this sort of weird grid of, you know, lettered and number coordinate type of things. So it's kind of off-putting in that regard, but I think they do take some steps here with the look and feel of this to make it a little bit more pleasing to look at. But the game is fantastic. I can't recommend it enough. It's in my top 100 games somewhere. I don't remember where. It's still up in there. And you can get this definitely for an affordable price. Now the old really fancy edition, don't go search that out. The game's not that good that I would pay, you know, $250 or $300 for it. The last edition they did is junk. I wouldn't use that. You can find this edition relatively easily, but again, you got to kind of try to hunt it down and hope it has all the pieces and everything that you need. It might be missing tiles and stuff like that. So I recommend this. You know, if you can get over this, or if you play in a very well lit area, or you wanted to kind of like dry brush this or fix this up a little bit, then it's no-brainer, I would pick it up. But because of that issue, that's kind of the main issue I wanted to kind of point out with the video. And it's really kind of a shame because the rest of the production is fantastic. I mean, I would be super, super excited about this if this board was just a little bit more legible. You know, that's just a real stickler about it. But I wanted to showcase it because I love the game. It's fantastic. It's fun. But there you go. So definitely take a look into it. Thanks.